Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode. Okay, Rolando. Harrison Ford. Yay or nay? Hot? Yes? Just yes.
In what sense?
Would you do you have the hots for him? Do you think he's a movie star? Would you bang him? Yes.
Yeah. No. So up until just rewatching the Indiana Jones movies, I would have said no, not really. I never found the attraction. But I just rewatched Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'm just like, oh, I get it. I see the appeal.
Yeah. So I'm a lesbian.
Wait.
Well, just want to say.
In
case you didn't know that, I'm a lesbian. And yet, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, all sweaty, drinking the blood of Kali. I was like, hello, sir. You are a fine-ass piece of meat.
Actually, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, he's like way more shirtless than I feel
he
like
is. Yeah, he's just like a model in that movie, practically. So
right.
Yeah.
He must have had something in the contract where it's just like, I worked out for this, so please show me off as much as possible. Eddie, what are your thoughts? Harrison Ford, yay or nay?
Oh, yay.
Yay?
Yay.
Has it always been yay?
Yeah, as a little kid, yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah, like him as Han Solo, too. Like, I know I was always going to be attracted to the bad boy. I've always knew it's like the scoundrel, it's always going to steal my heart. So, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, has he aged like a fine wine? I don't know. Something we'll probably talk about when we talk about the 5th installment in this Indiana Jones film franchise. And we also are joined by a special guest, our unofficial 4th host, MacKenzie Green.
Yeah. Yay.
So, you're going to be in, It's going to be an adventure of a podcast. You're going to be in for a good one. So, all right, let's just get into it. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rolando.
And I'm Eddie Z.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about
unoriginality. All right, and we are back as promised with special guest MacKenzie Green.
The unofficial self-imposed fourth member of this podcast.
Yes, actually, I was doing the math. I think you're on more episodes now than our original 4th member.
That makes me so
Josh,
happy.
who was, I think, on like 3 episodes in the
Yes.
initial run of the show.
Wow. There we go. I think so, yeah.
I was like thinking about it.
I did it. I solidified myself in the Hall of Fame of this show.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's to the point where people are like, so when is MacKenzie going to be back? And we're like, just
Basically.
wait and see.
Yeah, I'm sure now
So.
people are watching movies being like, that seems like a MacKenzie film.
Yes. And you're the one who approached us for this one,
I
which
really
we were excited
did.
to have you on.
Yeah, this basically was the second this trailer dropped. This was another one where, like, immediately after I sent you the DM, Rolando, about The Little Mermaid, I was like, oh, by the way, Indiana Jones.
Seriously.
Yes, I remember.
And I feel like there's going to be one coming up that you're going to want to be on, or at least I hope you're going to want to be on. Maybe in 3 weeks. Just,
Oh my God.
a little movie called Barbie.
I was about to say, I was
So-
like, I don't even know if this is a reboot of the Barbie franchise, a remake. It's like, what are we, 18 films into the Barbie cinematic universe?
Seriously.
Okay,
We're just going to make it
so
work.
Look, as long as you know that there are Barbie movies in
Yes.
existence, this is just the first live action, as far as I know.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
basically like when Scooby-Doo got live action movies and people were like, oh, cool, a Scooby-Doo movie. And anybody in the know was like, no. We've been with the Globetrotters before. We've been to Monster High
Yeah.
School. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Seriously.
So, yeah. But,
should we make
okay.
predictions really quick before? Is Barbie going to be a great movie?
Oh, it's Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna love it.
I feel like it's
Can I
going to
be
be
honest?
like
The
genius.
only reason I believe
Yeah.
it's going to be amazing is because this is Issa Rae's first thing after Insecure, and I was like, "There's no
Yes.
way she said yes to this film, knowing it was like garbage." So I'm like, I refuse to believe that.
That's true too.
looking for
Yeah, I'm mostly excited just because I'm such a Greta Gerwig stan.
Okay.
Like,
Seriously,
I
yeah.
think she's such a great director and like one of the few like prolific female directors we have, like, because we don't have that many to
Yes.
choose from, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
and I had to explain
yeah.
to my I had to explain to my mother.
household names.
that this is not a children's film. My mom was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to tell your brother to take your niece. And I was like, I don't think this is for kids. Let's not take my tweenage child niece to this film.
Yeah, let's see it first and then get back to them on that one. So I think it's going to really be brilliant. So I'm excited. But we're not here to talk about Barbie just yet. We're here to talk about everyone's favorite Harrison Ford character, right? Right? Not Han Solo.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
No,
Like,
see, this is when I decided Harrison Ford was sexy as a child.
Oh,
like it was
hell
Devin
yeah.
Sawa. It was Devin Sawa and Casper, and then Harrison Ford that I was like, oh.
In which one, though? In which one?
Oh,
like
for me, it was my first introduction to Indiana Jones was Last Crusade. So I was like, ooh, okay. And then I was like, tell me more about this man. And then everybody was like, well, if you thought that was good, wait till we show you something else. And I was like, what? There are more of these movies?
Oh my gosh.
So that is interesting. So, all right. So, Last Crusade, the last of the original trilogy, is the first one that you saw.
Yes, that was where I started. Well, so to give context for it, my grandmother was a very religious woman, not creepy evangelical Christian, but like progressive, believed in actual like Jesus's love, that part of it. But she was the person you had to filter pop culture through. So she stumbled across Last Crusade on TV, and I think she was like, this is perfect. It's the kind of weird stuff MacKenzie likes, but then I also get to have a conversation at the end of like, why do you think that was Jesus's cup? So that's what, so she was the one that was like, can I show you a film? And I was like, what? A piece of cinema? You'd like to show me a non-animated film? Let's watch. And my mind was blown. I was obsessed.
Do you remember about how old you were?
I had to have been like under 10. I know I definitely, I mean, but I'm also a person who went to, like, my first concert was Janet Jackson at 4. So for all I know, I could have been like 5 years old watching this movie.
This is
Janet Jackson at 4.
Nicole, what was your first Indiana Jones film that you ever saw?
You guys remember when Star Wars was re-released in the 90s?
Yes.
And everyone fell in love with Star Wars. They like did it for like a week in the theater. And it revitalized everything.
For a week.
Yeah, so then after I became obsessed with Star Wars, my family was like, we think she'll like Indiana Jones. And I actually liked Indiana Jones better than Star Wars. To this day, I still think it's a better franchise. And I do have a favorite of the original 3. But before I do my rankings there, I do want to hear your guys, you, Rolando, how you feel about Indiana Jones.
Oh, so I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan.
I thought so.
I've only seen and so here's the thing. I actually had not rewatched these since I was a child, basically.
That's crazy.
I just rewatched it for the podcast, and I realized like, oh, I was missing it. I was sleeping on Harrison Ford because like he is handsome.
So like so much of my personality is based off of Belle from Beauty and the Beast and Dr. Jones. Because I was like, ooh, smart people are supposed to be really hot and they can get whatever they want. Like, I think that's why when other people were like, I was like, no. What you got to do is you got to learn dead languages. Like, you got to know how to read hieroglyphics. Like, my family used to see me in the backyard digging for artifacts. Don't know where they were in
That's
DC.
so funny.
But yeah, like I was upset. I mean, my talent in the pageantry world was the Raiders March on bassoon. I have been in the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular at Disney to a point that I'm convinced I'm a cast member at Disney.
I'm so jealous. I wanted to be so picked so badly.
Right?
The first time we went to Disney for that.
Oh my god! Like the way, like what you said, Nicole, like the way people go up for Star Wars is the way I am about Indiana Jones. So like
Same.
I always I'm always confused when people like want to have a fist fight in the parking lot about Star Wars canon. Meanwhile, I'm like, swinging on people in the theater being like, Shia LaBeouf is not real. He doesn't count.
Oh, good. We'll get back to that for this one.
We have to.
But yeah, no, the first Indiana Jones I ever saw was the Temple of Doom.
Ooh.
And that was when it was like playing on our network TV, like on Channel 11, because they would play a lot. They would play a lot of Indiana Jones, and I remember watching it. And it just it kind of stuck with me. So that's how I actually watched the Indiana Jones movies. I saw Temple of Doom first, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark. I never got around to fully watching and The Last Crusade.
Okay.
And I never had seen Skull Island.
Oh, Crystal Skull. You missed
Crystal
nothing.
Skull.
I promise you.
You didn't see that in
promise
the
you
theater?
missed nothing.
No.
I saw that in the theater 3 times.
That
when it was out in 2008. That's how much I love Indiana, man.
I don't blame you because I saw that movie multiple times, and then people ask me, I'm like, oh no, it was garbage. But it was the first like Indiana Jones movie I got to go to a theater in my little outfit.
That's probably it too.
And like sit with
Makes
other
sense.
people because I'm like prior to that everything had existed in my house.
That's oh wow, yeah. I guess that's true because it was like that was a revival when they brought him back.
Exactly.
Like not that however long.
Yeah.
Eddie, what was your first Indiana Jones?
Well, I had a brother-in-law who like loved all these movies, so and he would like buy at that time like the cassettes for them, so I got to see like them in order.
Oh, okay.
And my favorites being the first two.
Yeah,
That's first two.
So favorites. All right, power rankings. Everybody, what's your favorite Indiana Jones movies in order? Should we include Dial of Destiny and give away how we feel about Dial of Destiny?
Okay.
I
mean,
I feel like let's save Dial of Destiny for when we talk Dial of Destiny.
Well, we're not going to go through every single Indiana Jones movie.
This is true.
Like right now is kind of like when we're going to talk about how we feel about each of these movies.
You're right.
So,
Let's just rank
right?
them.
So
Rank
let's just
them
all
all.
right. Anybody want to
Mackenzie.
go first?
No, I'm not going first. I refuse.
No. You don't want to go first. All right, I'll go first. Since
Yeah, you go
since I
first,
admit it,
yeah.
I am not the
Yeah.
biggest Indiana Jones fan, so since I haven't seen Crystal Skull or fully the Last Crusade, I'm going to put those on my bottom 2.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to put Temple of Doom. I think my number 1 is actually going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark, then Temple of Doom, and now Dial of Destiny.
Okay.
Okay.
And
That would
then
be
I accept that.
my 3.
Okay.
And then
all
the
right.
other 2 would be because I can't give them a fair shot. You know what I mean?
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have one, Eddie?
Well, actually, by the order it is. Well, my first one is Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Okay.
and also that element of it having to do with kind of religious
Artifacts.
I'm
artifact
telling
thing.
you, that's the
Yeah,
best.
so
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Second, The Last Crusade. And then, by the order it is. The Last Crusade and then the Crystal Skull.
So you like Crystal
Wow.
Skull more than Dial
Dial
of
of
Destiny?
Destiny?
No. If I was to put Dial of Destiny, now that actually would be number 2 for me.
Oh,
So it would be Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
Dials of Destiny.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, geez. All right. We're going in order of love of Indiana Jones, I guess. All
Yes,
right.
I think so.
So I would put. This is hard because my 1 and my 2 now just keep changing in my head. Okay, we're gonna go Last Crusade.
As number 1?
Yeah, that's number 1.
Okay.
Raiders is 2.
Okay.
Dial of Destiny is 3.
Oh, wow. Okay.
4 is Temple of Doom, and 5 is Crystal Skull.
Hey.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'm hyped for you guys to hear this list. All right.
I can't wait.
Coming in at number 5, Last Crusade.
Oh,
Okay.
That's my number 5. I
accept
watched
that.
them all in order this past week, and I was like, I have to come to facts with how I feel about these movies and be my true. I gotta live in my truth. Number 5, Last Crusade. Number 4, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
okay.
Number 3, Dial of Destiny. Oh,
All right.
Number 2, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and number 1, Temple of Doom. The greatest action movie ever. Why are you guys disrespecting Temple of Doom? Temple of Doom is such a fucking good movie.
No
It is a
one's
non-stop action
Shows
movie.
up at our top. I think it's everybody's top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
It should be number 1. That movie begins as a musical, then
Yes.
it turns into a gangster
It does
movie, then it becomes
That
an
actually-
action adventure film, right? And then the plot is amazing. Like, he was brought from the skies to rescue the children for this poor village. Like,
That is
this
true.
isn't just some, like, greedy thing that he wants to do and put some artifact in a museum. Like, he's
That is
doing
true.
God's work in this movie, man.
I mean,
Granted,
when you put
it's
it like
kind of
that, that makes
racist.
sense.
It's still a good
See,
fucking movie.
That's why it dropped down my rankings, because I'm like, I gotta be aware of where I am in space and time. But for the most part, considering that even Kiki Kwan is like, it's the best movie I've ever done outside of everything.
That's-
And
Seriously.
like, he's just like, nah. probably the second best movie I've ever.
Yeah, guys, Short Round. Hello, Short Round. One of the greatest characters ever. And Willie, that girl was kidnapped, right? She was a victim that whole movie, right? Like, people are annoyed by her. It's like, how would you freaking act if somebody kidnapped you and brought you onto a plane?
The way I still remember,
she's just a singer.
She's just a singer.
I still remember my grandmother tearing up when he was like begging with Indy to break the curse, and I remember like my grandfather being like, "Well, these movies are very emotional. I did not realize this." Like, I still remember the two of them being so like genuinely upset, and they were like, "Is he gonna be okay? Is he gonna be fine?" And I don't think the listeners understand. This is at a time when like there was no internet to find out, are they filming the third movie? So like from where they were sitting, it was like, oh, this is how the story ends. Indiana Jones is possessed and he's gonna kill this little kid. Like,
seriously. And just, I'll talk a little bit about Temple of Doom, and everybody can kind of talk about their favorite picks, since we all somewhat chose differently. But like,
we did.
This movie is the reason that PG-13 was invented. Right? Because people took their children to see this movie. He's drinking the fucking blood of some demon, right? And like almost killing children. So they're like, hey, wow, kind of needed a warning for this. This whole PG thing was not accurate. And they were like, we need something in between PG and R. They came up with it for this movie. They should have developed
that before for the Raiders of the Lost Ark, because like those two films, the Temple of Doom,
they are dark,
and they have like some horrific elements. Like, I mean, Temple of Doom will always scar me. Like, I'll always remember the scar I had when I first saw like the bad guy take the heart out, right? In that ritual. Like,
see, you were traumatized. I was like, that's so cool. Like, that was my takeaway. Is that I was like,
it was so scary for me.
I was just like, oh my god, you can reach. But also, like, people have to understand in terms of the timeline for myself, like, prior to having to have seen Temple of Doom, you would see that trope of ripping the heart out of somebody in like comedy films, like the Wayans brothers will put it in stuff. So for some reason, it was like by the time I got to it in that film, I was like, that's awesome. I want to rip somebody's heart out of their chest. And everybody's like, no.
Right?
I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. And my family was like, again, I don't think you understand the tie-in between what you're looking at and what you think jobs are.
Seriously. And also, like, this movie gave me a false representation of what I thought voodoo was. Like, I recognize the flaws within it, but again, like, I think they wanted to have so much fun, and then they wanted it to get dark, obviously, to a point. It's just nonstop thrill ride. I'm never bored in that movie. Yeah. Despite some of the problematic stuff that might happen. And, like, it's so unique if you compare it to every other film, where there truly is not another one like it. Like, it's the most unique and the most kitschy, the most fun out of all of them. So I think it's one of the most unique movies that they ever made, and it's probably even Steven Spielberg ever made of the franchise.
Which is interesting because, like, during its time, it was out of the original.
It was just a flop. It was disliked. Nobody liked it.
Yeah. Oh, it was a flop also? No.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was a critical flop, not a commercial. Oh, but like that's why Last Crusade is so different than the Temple of Doom, because they were like, okay, we kind of have to do everything that we didn't do
in the first one.
And kind of now go back to our Raiders of the Lost Ark winning kind of tropey things and have him just go back to being an archaeologist, which I was kind of like, I wish he was in space. I wish he went even further, but okay.
Well, I think that was like ultimately the thing, because the original vision for Indiana Jones was like to have like these almost not related stories of this adventure and stuff. So that's why if you look at like the original intent for Indiana Jones, like the Raiders of the Lost Ark and then follow up by Temple of Doom, they're not connected. You don't even have like Marion, for example, right?
Yeah,
you're just following Indiana Jones. Like one of the characters that dies in the beginning of the film, for example, he's just like, all our adventures together. Just like, what adventures?
Yeah,
I never saw these adventures.
Yeah,
but it's actually because he has a life that he lives that we never get to see.
Exactly,
we're just like getting like almost like a preview each time.
But that's what makes it kind of brilliant, and that's why when they weirdly tried to like retcon through the adventures of young Indiana Jones, people were like, get out of here. Because it was like, like, you could do that with a movie then, where you could just be like, he had a whole life before this film started. Because I am one of those weird people that will sit in a theater, and when the story starts, and especially if it's like a catastrophic story, I'm like, what were they doing yesterday before this happened? And I'm
seriously.
like, my God, what a doozy of a story to get dropped into. Then, like, meanwhile, this movie is like, oh no, he was doing stuff yesterday, but now this is what's happening this week. And you're like, oh,
this is
okay.
This is his adventure of this week.
It was also like the character, again, as a weird person who often thinks about what are characters doing when the film is over. These movies posit a world in which it's like Indiana is living when he's not on your screen. So it's kind of like, so you are just getting a glimpse at like a day in the life. Like he was the OG influencer. But like in reality, you knew when the movie ended, you were like, damn, he's about to go off and do something cool that I might not get to see. That sucks.
Right.
No, seriously.
True,
yeah. I wish they kept going in the Temple of Doom, kind of just pure adventure. You know, kind of closer to the original intent too, which is the serial films that George Lucas grew up on. Because this is also very much a George Lucas set world. You know, he was going to make this, and then he decided on making Star Wars. And then after he made Star Wars, he got Spielberg interested, and he had like so many people help him. He had Lauren Kasdan, you know, who wrote like The Big Chill and The Accidental Tourist. He got Philip Kaufman from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and all of them together made Indiana Jones what it is. So they had all these brilliant people on this movie. And it was George Lucas who said the second one should always be darker. Empire Strikes Back, darker than A New Hope, you know, and it goes into different territory. So he's like, we have to push it. And unfortunately, though, it didn't work. And then they decided to go back. They kind of almost take a step back for Last Crusade. But I kind of want to hear from MacKenzie why you love Last Crusade so much.
I think, one, as somebody who is from twofold, right? So the parental relationship was always big to me because I could relate to this idea of chasing down the legacy of a parent that is very well known and very established and is like miles ahead of you, and you are constantly trying to be like, you know, I'm a big deal too. And I think also that religious element of it I thought was really beautiful and lovely. And then what you're pointing out is like, my little kid brain loved like the silliness of it simultaneously. Like I will always remember the scene of the tank going over the thing, everybody mourning his death, having a moment, and then like cheering when he was standing behind them, and he's like, "What are we like that? What are we looking at?" thing, and I just was like, "This is like again, it's your first," and my brain was like, "This is the greatest movie. Is this what film is?" And that was it.
Yeah. The puzzles in Last Crusade are among the best, too. Like, especially when his dad is dying and he's like, oh, I need to find this word. And he's like, oh, in the Latin alphabet, it begins with an I, you know? And you're like, the suspense of it all is just so
I still remember
done.
My grandmother cheering when he basically is, like, spelling the original version of Yahweh. Like, she was just like...
Yeah.
But like it was just like, oh my god, this is the movie. This is the movie I'm gonna make all the grandkids watch. Like, or even just that moment when the guy comes in and grabs the most elaborate cup and he's like, this is the chalice of God. And then like, you know, again, I still hear Ann Caudle's voice in the back of my head as he's scanning all the cups, and she's like, is that one? Is that dirty wood one in the back? That's the cup. That's the one. And like,
yeah,
which and I love the explanation that comes with that scene. I do remember that scene.
Yes.
You know, like it's brilliant.
Very good scene. Yeah.
Now, I mean, the downside is I thought that's what like church and Sunday school were. I thought everybody was rocking like my grandmother using Indiana Jones as an allegory, only to get to church and be like, I'm sorry, what now? He hates who? That's crazy. I've never heard that. Like,
seriously, yeah.
Like, I was like, who are y'all talking about? Because my dude likes Harrison Ford.
You know, what a fantastic movie character, truly. Like, it's so learned, so, like, respectful of other cultures. One of my favorite things about the Temple of Doom is when he goes and he's eating the food, and he's like, I can't eat this. He's like, you're embarrassing me, and you're disrespecting them. Like, the amount of respect that he has. He's just, like, as a child, he was a great role model.
Yeah. Well,
right? Okay, other than the fact that he's a murderer.
No.
A mass murderer.
He's still stealing artifacts.
Oh, yeah, for a museum.
Are going into, like, usually British museums.
Right.
True.
Right. You are absolutely true about that. But at least the way he approaches things with just the utmost, like, respect and whatnot, other than when he's killing everybody. And
I have such an unhinged hot take on that point. I am convinced everybody listening is going to be like, ma'am, log off, turn off your computer, turn off the Zoom. I am convinced that the rise of fascism has happened because there has been no Indiana Jones in theaters for like 15 years.
Ooh, wait! I can't wait to hear. Tell me, elaborate, please.
Because the first thing I said when Charlottesville happened, and everybody said they're very fine people on both sides. I said, "Were we watching the same Indiana Jones movies?" Because last time I checked, Nazis are the bad guys. They've always been the bad guys. They're the ones we hit with whips and we shoot. Yeah. So truly, I have been convinced since 2016, 15 really. Since certain people came down an escalator, I said none of this would have happened if Dr. Jones was around. Nobody would have ever let this happen.
That is a good read, man.
We all knew who the bad guys were. And now that he's gone, everybody's like, well, I mean, if you think about it, no. All this nonsense wasn't happening.
I agree with you, because I think that was one of the questions I asked Eddie on the way back. It's like, I wonder if like the neo-Nazis of today are complaining. It's just like, why do Nazis have to be the bad guy in the new Indiana Jones? Like, that was my reaction, because
this is why in Crystal Skull, when they were Soviets, I was like, no, don't do that. But then at the same time, I was a teenager and I thought people know who the bad guy is. Like when you went to the Disney Stunt Spectacular, and they've now changed it, but when that plane would turn the corner in the 90s and have a big old swastika on the side, people were like, "Ooh, bad guys." And now people don't seem to know, because Indiana Jones is not here to tell us. No. When you, like you said, you're respectful of the brown people. You shoot at those people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is my unhinged hot take. Indiana Jones is important to the culture. Without him, we fall apart.
I agree. I concur.
I agree. You know what?
I'm glad.
I mean,
I'm glad.
Stamp of approval.
Kind of a perfect way for us to get into this new movie, Dial of Destiny, which, just got released. Not directed by Steven Spielberg. Directed by James Mangold. Yeah.
Who directed Girl Interrupted.
Yep.
The Logan.
Yes.
I did not know that these three movies all share one director. Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else about the movie? Usually I'm the one who does this.
Harrison Ford is very old, doing all of his own stunts, still sexy. Don't know why he was shirtless, but I'm not complaining.
Oh, yeah, what a brave choice. He was in his boxers, those ill-fitting boxers, but I think appropriate for the time.
I love it. I told my dad, I said, "Dad, you got to go see it." My dad is 81. I said, "You got to go see Indiana Jones, because you're going to get to see what all your peers are doing."
You know what? I mean, let's be real. Like, Harrison Ford looks really great for his age.
Still looks good.
I'm 36, and I don't look half as good naked.
Samesies. Samesies. When he was up there having his full moment, I was just like, still got it. And
dude, and it was like a while that we saw him just straight up walking around in his underwear.
Callista Flockhart, I get it. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. More than Catherine Zeta-Jones for Michael Douglas. I get this one. Yeah.
Listen, there are certain people, him and Kevin Costner, that I'm like, you guys will always be the loves of my life. It is what it is.
They wanted to make a fifth film right after Crystal Skull. It just stalled for years, and to the point where Lucas and Spielberg walked away from it. I mean, I think the only prominent person that returned for this was John Williams,
Harrison Ford.
Okay,
and Harrison Ford, yes, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that Harrison Ford clearly hates everybody he's ever played. He hates being in films. He hates being famous, but he clearly loves being Indiana Jones.
Yes, you can tell that he did have a good time in reprising this role. Yeah. Despite the fact that he's supposed to be a crotchety older man.
But
he wasn't phoning it in.
Him. It just works. Even just that scene where the de-aging stuff at the beginning, which I adored, and then straight into him just being asleep in a Barker lounger, just felt so yes, that's who he was as a young man, and now he probably absolutely is on set being like, you want me to do what? How many times? No, once.
I thought he was going to do the whole sure, I'll return only if you kill me. Yes. And we're going to talk about spoilers, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about spoilers, but right now, spoiler alert, Indiana Jones doesn't die.
Nor is he left back in time.
Nor is he left back.
I was like, that's the only way this movie is going to end. I was like, since it's the last film, they're going to kill him or they're gonna leave him in the past, and I think that's off our point of he has a life. I got really emotional. I cried at the end, to be honest. Same. Because I was like, Dr. Jones is fine, and like every other film, he is gonna go live his life, and I'm just gonna wonder what he's up to, but I'm never gonna get a follow-up from this.
Yeah.
And like,
I will. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think
God bless the people in the theater next to me. I cried. I love that John Williams score so much.
It is good.
Oh my
It was,
God.
yeah.
When he kissed her on the shoulder,
Yes. It was so tender, but it was like a very, very beautiful moment.
I lost
was
it.
like,
I said, so these movies were never about religion. They were never about artifacts or adventures. They were about love. Oh my God.
right,
And then I just sobbed. And this couple next to me at the Alamo Draft House was like, is she okay? I was like, I am unwell. I'm very unwell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should save the talk about that ending and how we thought he would have died if he died. Now, you could read into that last frame because we just see a hand grab the hat. It could be a pass of the torch. Who knows who grabbed that hat?
Because we knew everybody was downstairs. So that's where I was just, so that's where
this
I was
is true.
saying, I thought
Yeah, they were getting ice cream. Everyone was getting ice cream.
Thank you. I thought the hat was going to fly off the fire escape and land at the little kid's feet. I didn't, because I thought they were going to go real crazy. I thought George Lucas was going to be like, I got a brown baby. Guess what? The new Indiana Jones is going to be a Hispanic boy. And I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
Supposed to be.
So I thought that the reason they took the hat was because they're going to use it in the sexual play.
Yes. I literally thought it was sexy time.
Yeah, like
it's
just
sexy
like,
time.
And Marion's like, I want you in the hat.
But like,
Yeah.
that's the next logical thing. It's like, immediately, the guy like you, Rolando, went, but why did he need the hat? Like, after I stopped crying, I was like, wait a second. Would you need that hat for inside?
That's great.
Again, I praise the film here because like these are two people who are very much in their 80s, but like people after their 60s can still be sexual.
I lived for the level of like entendre, tenderness between, because I just thought you don't get that from a lot of like, because I kept thinking like they're gonna hug and we're gonna fade to black, and they were like, girl, no, these kids gotta leave
that's
this
not
house.
how we're doing it.
Everyone gotta get out of here.
Yeah. So let's start with the beginning of this movie. And I have one immediate problem with this movie.
Yes.
Is that there is no match cut of the Paramount logo to something happening. Because they've done that in every other fucking movie. That is how you open it. In the Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's the mountain, right?
Yeah.
In Temple of Doom, it's the gong. And I think it's one of the arches in the Last Crusade. And then it was like a gopher hole or something.
Yep.
And Kingdom of Crystal Skull, nothing. I was like, this is not a good start for me. I was a little upset.
I didn't realize.
Because it's an iconic thing.
Yeah. Those kind of small details do throw you off, where you're like, wait. But I think I immediately was like, this is going to be bad, but I'm here because I love this man. That I think the fact it just instantly got into the action, that I was like, oh, this is an Indiana Jones film. Because there's no pretext as to where, like, the last time we left off, we're like, how did he get here? It's like, no, baby.
Right.
We in it. We fight Nazis.
Yeah.
We on a moving train.
Mm-hmm.
We're just here. We're just out in these
We're just here, yeah. We're in 1945. It's the fall of Berlin. You know, like, everybody's kind of losing their minds. But, of course, there's people who are just, like, in their own worlds trying to be greedy assholes and capture a holy artifact.
Yes.
And they're looking for the Lance of Longinus or something, where it was, like, allegedly the blade that pierced Christ.
It was part of the sphere.
Yeah.
The sphere of Longitis.
There you go. Longinus. There we go.
I again was like, oh, I love these. I was like, it made my heart tender because I thought, oh, my grandmother would have loved this. She would have been like, oh, here we go. Here we go. But I think it felt quintessential Indiana Jones from the second that the capture scene started. I was like, oh, this is an Indiana Jones movie. Like, no questions, like an absolutely impossible strait to get out of. No guns, no anything fancy, just like a rope tied around your neck and hopefully you can figure it out.
Yeah. And so we go back in time to 1945 to a young Indiana Jones who is CGI'd to be Harrison Ford at that age, which is not that long after Last Crusade era of Harrison Ford, right? So what did we think about that?
I was reminded how much I love him.
So, yeah, I mean, it was great seeing him young again, but I kind of wish they wouldn't have held so long on, like, the face. Like, we could have just done some clever editing where we just didn't need to see the CGI, because sometimes it just looked a little rough, depending on the lighting.
But that's the thing. It's like the Gemini Man deal. Like, they want you to be so amazed by the de-aging technology that you're like, all right, Robert De Niro, I don't need this.
Yeah.
This is a lot. Please take this away.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, they've gotten a lot better at this, but I just want to say, like, it was really well done.
Improves.
Now, what they have to work on is their voices, because he sounded like an old man.
Yes.
It was like, he looks so great. He sounds so old.
That's a good. Okay, so you're right. So maybe that was a little disconnect I also had. I'm just like something's
off.
I think you're right.
Yeah. I think it was the voice. Yeah, he sounded like 80. So
yeah.
Which also, how old is Harrison Ford? What is his
like
exact?
82?
Which I'm obsessed with.
That's
like,
kind of fucking amazing.
I was sold from the second they announced this film. Yeah, he's officially 80. My favorite news that came out of this film is when they were like, Harrison Ford hurt himself on a train performing his own stunts. And I was like, you better work, bitch. That is...
Seriously.
That is amazing.
That's commitment.
Tom Cruise.
These elder. Yeah, seriously.
Say, like, it's just like, we're losing... Like, today's generation of actors could never.
They don't I don't think people understand, like, I love Marvel, but even I know that they're wearing muscle suits, right? And I'm like, but back in the day, action heroes had to look like their action figure. If you were an action star, you were doing your stuff. So it's like, it's just funny to me that he, in a time like now, when they could have easily gotten him some blonde-haired 20-something-year-old to do his stunts, that he was like, no, give me the jacket, give me the harness. I'm doing it. And they were like, you don't have to, Mr. Ford. And he was like, shut up. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm Indiana Jones. Yes, I do. Yes.
Like, he was like, yes.
Yeah. You know, and when I rewatched all the films in order, I was like, okay, first one, Ark of the Covenant, right? Second one, you know, demon, sacrificial stuff. Third one, the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Fourth one, aliens. So when I was thinking about the fifth one, I'm like, it keeps going up and up and up. I mean, the only way to go truly is either space or time travel, is it not?
Yeah.
And also when they called it Dial of Destiny, I was like, I think they're going with time travel. So they find the lance on the train, but they find half, and they're like, that's fake. But what we found is half of the Archimedes dial, which is supposed to be this, like, time travel thing. And it's interesting because Indiana Jones doesn't seem to care all that much, right?
Oh, could give two shits. Like, this man is like, even I hadn't put together the time travel element until they held it up, and I was like, it's a clock. And I was like, they're doing time travel. And the way his reaction is like, girl, don't care, couldn't care. There is less care, no fucks to give. And I was like, Indy, what?
I know Indy at this point, because even at
truly
this
shocking.
point, this is before the aliens, mind you. But like even at this point, he has already seen shit. Like we saw the Ark of the Covenant like melt people's faces.
His reaction to stuff is the same way I feel in the MCU when like an alien will show up and they're like, "There's no way the multiverse exists." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, a giant purple alien with balls for a chin came down and killed half the population, and where you draw the line is that there's a quantum realm." So it was the same thing when he was like, time travel's impossible. And I was like, you drank the blood of a demon.
Seriously.
And this is where you're like, time travel? Never heard of her. I was like,
this is where you get stubborn, sir? No. Yeah. That, I was like, this is uncharacteristic. Like, come on. First of all, he should know what the fuck that is. I think he didn't know at first.
Yeah, when he would give a shit. Like, who? What? Yeah, and I was like, there's no way my Dr. Jones is like, Archimedes, begin. Let's tell you the story. Yeah.
Maybe he was just so overwhelmed by all the Nazis, you know? Like, that could happen.
Exactly. That's true. I mean, you are being chased in a train full of Nazis.
I mean, he almost got hung to death in the middle of an explosion. So, you know.
Yeah. So he's probably, you know, not fully there.
You remember the clock tower?
Yeah.
The clock tower.
Oh yeah, the clock tower.
He was hung.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a Nazi there called Jürgen Voller who knows exactly what Archimedes' dial is, and he's trying to convince.
This guy is just like, Hitler needs this.
Yeah.
They name drop Hitler very much.
Oh, they do. They say Hitler by name a lot.
Again, we would have never been in this position with Dr. Jones around, because I know words like Führer are not good. Yeah. I know words like Hitler are not good, because I have watched enough Indiana Jones to be like, they want to get like the minute they held it up and go, the Führer would love this, I went, oh no, we can't let him get that.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm sad to think it's just like, oh, in certain populations there must have been some cheers like the Fuhrer. Yes!
No, they were like,
It's just like, oh
there
no.
were like a handful of people that accidentally outed themselves at the theater, being like,
Yeah,
yes,
like-
representation matters. And they're like, no.
Yeah, seriously. Now this guy, while chasing after Indiana Jones, who has it, is like, hey, give it to me. He almost gives it to him, then he gets whopped, right? By a water tower, I believe.
Any normal person dead.
Yeah, any normal person dead. He's not dead.
I said that's a deceased man. We just watched
Seriously.
that man die. And I thought the remainder of the movie was going to be about other people looking for this thing that Hitler desperately wanted. I was gooped, gagged, and run amok when he turned around. I was like, you should be dead.
And he's not disfigured in any way.
Yeah, he still has his
Like,
pretty face.
Yeah,
right?
Beautiful.
So the movie's already like asking a lot of us, but it's fine because again, my favorite is Temple of Doom, so you could ask as much as you want of me as long as you're entertaining.
But I think the movie sets us up to say, I need you to suspend disbelief, because it basically says we had actually landed a man on the moon. That seemed impossible to everybody. And it's like, so literally the movie was saying to you, like, if time travel seems crazy, it seemed crazy to everybody when men landed on the moon. So go with us here. Let's begin.
So that was one of the, actually, I'm glad you brought up the Man on the Moon, because like the movie will jump forward to the day, or when we're celebrating the moon landing.
Moon Day.
And that's one of the interesting things about this film that I wish kind of was touched upon a little bit more, but there's kind of this juxtaposition here. We have Indiana Jones, who's literally studying like the past.
Yes.
And we have the people ready to jump into the space age, the future. And he was almost like a relic of his time, because same, like as Top Gun Maverick showed us, like these actors, these characters, they are relics of their time. Like we really don't make stuff like this anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought the film would explore that a little bit more. It didn't, but I kind of did like that little, even that little nod. I kind of appreciated, where it's just like he's teaching a class. Like if you look at the difference in the first film to now, the kids are just not interested. In the other ones, they have the hots for him. They are like hanging to every word he says. Here, they couldn't give two fucks.
Oh, when he knocks on that door and everybody's kind of like, okay, old man. It is. It's like, it's very like this. Yeah. You could tell a little bit of that was like, this is where Harrison Ford is now. Like, he spent so much of his life having people be like, oh my God. And now it's like, you can imagine that, like, if he's not with a security team and he's like headed to his airplane hangar, if he stops at the gas station on the way, people are kind of like, hello, sir, do you need help?
Yeah,
and he's like,
and
he's just like, shut up. I'm about to go crash a plane into a golf course. Leave me alone.
So during one of his classes where he's at Hunter now, I love that he like lives in the city and he's not at Princeton anymore. So he's kind of like, I guess by some degree downgraded. There's a girl there who is in his class who's actually interested, played by Fleabag herself, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who I love.
Okay. I've never seen Fleabag, but I remember thinking, it's just like, is that the girl from Fleabag? Because I've only seen one clip, and it's just like, don't flirt with him. It's like, I've never seen
Fleabag.
That's the only clip I know.
The only reason I know who she is because when she was on SNL, she did a Love Island sketch that made me laugh so hard that I was like, whoever this lady is, I like her. And then
yeah, I mean,
she's
I'll tell you this much.
Brilliant writer.
I know.
My favorite thing in this film, easily. She was, I think, so good in this movie.
She was great.
She was having fun. Like,
so much fun.
I love when actors get dropped into like an iconic franchise and they are both acting their asses off, but also acting in a way that's like, guys, I'm in an Indiana Jones movie.
Well, I'm gonna say this: like, this movie works well as an Indiana Jones movie, but if you even stripped out Indiana Jones and just made a movie focused around this character, and like an original storyline, I would still watch it because I think she was
1,000,000% watch it.
So charismatic. I love the fact that she was also like morally gray.
Yes,
and I appreciate, like, it wasn't, but they weren't. We don't chastise her for it. She's just surviving, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, no, he's like, I do these things so I could put them in a museum. And she's like, you're some aging grave robber.
Yeah.
Like kind of putting him in his place where it's like, what am I doing so bad? Like, how can you judge me? You know, you're not so holy yourself either. Kind of putting him, like you said, treating him like a relic too. Because a lot of people did kind of like look at him differently. They don't look at him as respectful as they did in the other movies, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she wants to know, where that half is. She's on like a quest to find it because her father, who was with him in the past, he spent his life researching it. And to the point where Indy was like, he kind of drove your dad insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I would back away from it. But of course, she doesn't want to. And after her are these suspicious characters who we find out are one CIA people. And then also the Nazis back and like his henchmen.
That's what made me so sad that Sister Girl was in it, because for a second there I was like, we did it, we're finally in these movies, we're here.
And then they killed her.
And then when she died, I said, oh no, you did not. Oh my damn, oh my god.
Not just dies at the hand of Nazis too, which I think is so worst thing. It's just like what a what a
seriously.
Yeah.
But it also just felt quintessential, like, again, Indiana Jones, like we were talking about, like the sensitivity element. The quote, as people would say, the woke thing to do is to let her make it all the way to the end. The Indiana Jones thing to do is, you saw her, she's gone.
Yeah,
truly, yeah.
We did it.
There was one thing that did upset me about her death because she was CIA agent. Like the reveal is that we're Nazis, right?
Yes.
And when he reveals his name, I really wanted her to just say it, just like we knew, because the U.S. government very much knew that we had Nazis working in NASA.
Yes.
That's how we got to the moon.
I thought
so.
That's
Like
where the
this
plot,
wouldn't have been a surprise.
I thought that's where the very specific plot twist was going. Is that she was literally going to be like, the only reason I agreed to this because I knew you were here. I knew this was happening, and then she gets shot. But again, me being a psycho, I was just like, her family doesn't even know she was. Did they even know she was CIA? They're gonna think she was a Nazi sympathizer. Again, I should not be allowed to go to films by myself.
Yeah,
but valid thoughts too, because I remember thinking, I was just like, God, what a. First of all, okay, Eddie said she got a name. Did she have a name? Because like I just feel.
Yeah, she did have her name.
What was her? Do you remember her name?
Oh my god, I forgot.
Ain't no way.
Agent.
It was like I felt because I was just like I don't know, like we have a black woman on screen, but does she even have a name? She's just like CIA agent.
Yeah.
And then I just kept being like, she seems to be the most adept, and I was like, I'm so lost. Why is she working with these people?
That's
seriously. Yeah, that was my question.
Her. Yeah, like the
Mason is her name, Agent Mason.
Agent Mason. Okay, but like the character, like their whole dynamic was making
Indiana Jones
no sense to
There's
me.
no explanation. There's no like, oh, she's in debt to the mob for $8 million or something crazy. It's like they will just start a story, and when you're like, do I know them? They're like, no, just shut up, just go with it. And you're like, okay,
just go with it.
Just go with it. And we kind of had to roll with punches because there's so much happening. At a certain point, we're just like, all right, well.
When she left the school, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, the black lady. And then she was like, they're here. I was like, oh, so that's it. There's no, like, surprise. I'm Agent so-and-so. I've been following Dr. Jones since I was a little kid. Like, there's nothing.
Right,
no tie.
I know. At first, I was like, when she was spying on Phoebe, I was like, ooh, lesbian undertones? No.
Oh, I thought that too.
I mean,
at first, I also was like, are we going to get kind of, I was like, ooh, because I thought, again, every Indiana Jones movie has a great sweeping moment of like grabbing the and I thought, she's gonna save her life. She's gonna fall and she's gonna grab her and she's gonna save her. And then it's gonna be super gay and then Disney's gonna be like, we got you.
Interracial and lesbians in Disney.
I was
Disney
like,
would
I just
never.
knew, like,
Disney
like,
would never.
We got you here, and jokes on you. We killed Nazis and we got biracial lesbian couple. Like,
that's true. Actually, in retrospect, Disney must have been shitting bricks when they like greenlit this movie. They're just like, oh my god, we're killing Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that like half our market now? Like,
I know.
Oh
Right?
my god.
All I could think was like, I know this is Bob Chapek era, but Chapek probably sent notes that was like, well, can we make them Soviets again? And everybody was like, no.
Seriously.
They were like, that's why we went back in time so that we could say no.
So this then begins like a chain of just the rest of the adventure of the movie, and it begins with a New York set like action sequence where he goes through a parade that is like for the moon landing, and then some of it's anti-war, and then he goes on the subway on a horse, which I
cheered. When I tell you they don't make action sequences like that, this man rode a horse in the subway station, then hopped off. Again, I rode horses. I rode semi-professionally.
Right. Yes.
I have never in my life seen a horse take off like that so quickly from the ground to that subway platform. I said, you better work, bitch. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I will admit, this moment was the most, I think, incredulous part. Up until this movie, I was just like, what?
That's when I knew I was in an Indiana Jones movie, because I was like, this is nonsense. I said, this is physically
He
possible.
outran 2 trains. Like, that was a little unhinged.
They basically said with that scene, you all think this is an old man who's antiquated and out of touch, but guess what? Just like horses versus trains, he can beat a train. Like, I was just like, this movie is unhinged, and I love it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. My biggest problem was that he did all of that, and yet Agent Mason was able to meet him right there at the subway. I'm like, so why was he on a horse? Because apparently all she had to do was go across the street and end up right where he was.
But that is the other part that hit me about New York subway stations is I went, okay, so he went down a stop but switched over. And I said, so he just did a real circuitous version of just walking down and coming back the other side of the platform. I said, Indy.
Pretty much,
That's
yeah.
a good idea. You didn't think this through.
And the only way to get away, though, is to just get on that train. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It was
like,
crazy.
damn it, we lost him.
Yeah, that was incredible. And also it felt very New York that everybody on the train was like, had no questions, no reaction.
I will agree,
That one
like,
little girl looked at him like, mind your business, mind your own
Yeah.
business, don't
Which
ask
is
me
so,
questions.
I mean, truly the most New York part of the film.
Truly.
Eddie has told me, it's just like, no, you don't look. You keep going.
Yeah, you
Keep
just
moving.
going.
You keep it moving. Don't look. Keep it moving.
So as he finds out about, I think they call her Wombat. I don't know what her real name is, but
I forgot it too.
Helena, yes.
Helena. Okay.
There you go.
So
Wombat's her
he tracks her down that she's going to go to Tangiers and try to sell this. But what he does is he meets Sala, a character from the original film, who's now a cab driver, right?
Yes.
And he brings him back to his home, and he's like, this is the man who brought us to this country and stuff. And it was such an interesting scene because I was like, yeah, this is actually what it would be like for this man who had this dynamic life overseas to come and live in this country. Yeah, he'd have to be reduced to a cab driver, you know, just because nobody that actually has like a high standing, like a doctor, teacher in other countries come here, they always have to take these jobs. But you know, he's so thankful to be here and stuff. Like it was such an interesting scene that I was like, wow, this is almost too realistic for me. Like it's making me sad. Like I needed to be a little bit more fantasy. Like couldn't he be like living in a mansion or something? Whatever.
Yeah, that was a moment where I thought like, wow, we got really realistic with this. But then of course he had his entire bag packed and I was just like, again, where'd you get a key for his house from? What?
That's true.
Yeah, right.
It's like, and how did you know where his hat and whip were?
What's going on here? Why is this happening?
I just love though, like Indy's so fashion conscious. They're like, oh, you're going, so here's your outfit. You can't leave without it.
I thought there was going to be like a surprising reveal of like he found a hat in the bazaar that he's like, oh, that fits. But the fact that he was like, no, baby, if I don't have the full fit, I cannot save the world. You got to.
Yeah, seriously.
You got to give me if you're there, please pick up my shirt, my pants, my jacket, and my hat. And when he walked in that bar in Tangiers with the rope, with the whip on his side, I was like, that's an old man for you. Like, he's not hiding it. It is visible on the outside of his clothing in a way that says, I've got all my possessions on me, like my dad when we travel.
Yeah, I think that might be my favorite action sequence other than the ending is when he goes to Tangiers, they're all bidding on it, and then they all fight for it, and then they have that huge pursuit in the rickshaw, and then like I think her like ex is there too, so then the car's coming at them, like it's all this stuff that I thought was so much fun.
I also like that the map.
I agree.
I like that the map thing now that somebody must have been like, these map movements are so unrealistic. So somebody went, let's be more realistic in how the little dot moves across the screen. Like they took so much effort to show like, see, they're going from Tangiers, they're gonna fly that way. Like as opposed to the first movies, they're just like landmass, circle in the middle of the ocean. There you go.
It's true.
Yeah, back to the chase. I just want to point out, she's running from her ex-lover or her betrothed. I'm like,
fiance.
Fiance. I mean, he's so like
so cute. I didn't know why she was running. I needed an explanation.
It's like, what? Why do you like? He's clearly like devoted
he's like,
to you.
He's like brokenhearted. Like he wants to kill her, but love her to death.
And then they tried to deter me by basically implying that he was very wealthy, and I was like, again,
just like,
why are we running? Why are you running?
Helena, because the characters they're already creating for Helena is just like Helena would totally be scamming this.
I was like, Helena, you like money. Sprinkle, girl. Go marry this man.
But I think that's what happened. I think she did scam him.
Okay.
Yeah,
she did the whole 9 yards. There was like the whole relationship. We're planning the wedding. oh, by the way, this is a long
She
con.
gotta see, but she gotta see it through to the end. She gotta get whatever that 1950 version of a prenup
I think
is.
she would be trapped. I think she would be trapped in a palace. I think that was her fear.
That is true.
He would locked her up in a palace.
Wearing fabulous pajamas that
I
he
know.
was in.
What a
Shit.
nightmare. Being married
What
to
a
a
nightmare.
rich, handsome man in another country
know.
where I don't have to lift a finger. Whoa.
Seriously.
Oh no! I hope no wealthy Saudi billionaire hears this podcast and offers to marry me and take all my student loan debt away. Oh, Lord.
All right. Yeah. This is when we also meet another character who becomes a sidekick in the movie, Teddy, who's a little cute. I like their little relationship. It reminded me kind of of Short Round.
Yeah.
Yes.
Teddy was a cutie patootie. I love
Yeah.
Teddy. I also love that Teddy had like a full mustache as a child.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Teddy was the kind of like kid actor that I love because I think, what's going on here? Like either this is either gonna be your one and only great moment, or we will never see you again for another 30 years until you're like winning an Oscar for a random one-off film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All I could think about when I saw him, though, is just like, is it an Indiana Jones movie without a person of color assistant child? You know what I mean? Like,
I also
that's
like
what
that I kept finding myself
Wasn't
confused
one in
about what
Last
Teddy
Crusade.
was. Yeah, I kept being like,
What?
Teddy, what's going on here? Are you supposed to be in the Middle Eastern? What are we doing? I'll
Yeah.
think about yourself, so I know
Yeah.
where we're going with this.
Yeah, there wasn't one in Last Crusade, Rolando. So.
Well, I only saw half of it, so I can't say for
Rolando's
sure.
like,
Well,
I
then
wasn't
you
there to see
shouldn't
how
make
that finished.
statements like that. So no. Then they
Was
go.
wait, does that mean that there was one in Crystal Skull?
No, actually, there wasn't either. So
Oh,
it
there
was
you go.
Shia LaBeouf. So
Yeah,
I guess
think
I
that's what
kinda
they went with.
consider
They were
it.
like,
yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go, guys.
So then they go to Greece and they go deep sea diving, right? Because it's like, okay, well, we've already, been on trains, went in
Yes.
subways with that, had rickshaw fights, so now let's go deep sea diving to find
That was my
literal
favorite
buried
callback.
treasure.
That was my favorite callback is when Teddy says, when they're like, well, there's eels down there, and if they bite you, and then Teddy's like, oh, eels, like sea snakes.
They're kind of like snakes,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're
Snakes.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they're not.
No, they're not snakes.
Yeah, that was cute.
Which
That was cute.
features a character played by Antonio Banderas, who I was not expecting to see in this film.
I know.
I
So
loved it.
briefly in it. Yeah, what a cameo.
I
And
love
he
these
has
like.
described it as such.
I love
Yeah.
that this movie became like that movie Red, where it was like, who's every older actor that loves action movies that we can like put in this? And I thought that was so
Yeah.
cute when he turned the corner.
Red?
But I also,
That's the
Red.
one with Bruce Willis, right?
yeah, it was like Bruce Willis,
Okay,
Helen
yeah. It
Mirren,
was
all that.
Everybody,
Helen Mirren.
yeah.
Yes.
I think my other
Yeah.
favorite part is the fact that they were in Greece, and I went, "What? Antonio Banderas in Greece?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they finally and they go, "He's the greatest frogman in all of Spain." I went, "Okay, good. I'm glad he said something, because if y'all were
Yeah.
trying to make me think this man was Greek, I was going to have to leave."
My favorite callback was when they're a little later in the film, he's like he's climbing. He's like, I'm
I
just
knew you were gonna say
wondering
that.
what
That
I'm
was
doing
mine
with
too.
my life. Yeah. And he's like, I've drunk like the blood of Kali. Just like talking about all this shit that he's been through. And he's like, I'm fucking still doing this shit. Like, what is wrong with me and
Yeah.
my body?
That was hands down my favorite scene that made me actually like tee hee hee out loud.
Yes,
And
yes.
He
Yes.
basically is like, I cannot believe I'm still doing this shit, because
Yeah.
I feel like that was not in the script. I feel like when they told him, okay, you and Phoebe are just gonna like climb this little small portion of wall. Don't worry, Harrison, we've got you. And I feel like midway through him putting on the harness, he went, can you believe I'm still doing this shit? I've drunk blood.
Yeah.
I've had my face melt off. I've been shot at 9 times in these films. And they
Yep.
just had to make me climb a wall. So like that whole scene, that thing just made me giggle, because I was
Yeah.
like the actual acknowledgement of like, and I've been shot 9 times. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole scene when they enter the cave and they're trying to find, the other half of the
Yeah.
dial, and they have to do all these puzzle solving, just class. I was like, it's just such good old fashioned movie going scenes. Like, it reminded me of Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, this is this year's
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick in the sense where I'm like, I don't remember seeing a movie like this in the theaters in the longest time.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm
Yes,
pretty sure though Mission
it's true.
Impossible 6 is gonna make me go, action movies, what? Like the minute I see Tom Cruise jump off the side of a mountain, I'm gonna be like, I love that little man
Yes.
so
yes.
much.
Oh, I'm so excited for Dead Reckoning Part 1. Yeah. I wish we could cover it, but
wait.
it doesn't qualify.
I know it doesn't
So-
I
qualify.
haven't I have not seen a single Mission Impossible movie.
You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
You're not doing life right. I'm telling
You're
you.
not. Yeah.
Again, MacKenzie wanted to go to the Naval Academy to become a spy because I thought that's what the job was.
Seriously, but I will say, if you watch them, Rolando, start at 3.
Yeah.
Start at 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Skip 1 and 2?
Skip 1 and 2. I mean, maybe watch 1. Don't watch 2. Because when they really get good is 3. That's the Tandy Newton one, unfortunately.
You've never seen a movie with less chemistry between two people in your life than that film.
Yeah. It's just, it's not, it's John Woo and it's not good.
Yeah. When
John Woo?
Yes. When Channing Tatum said, I'm not doing this movie anymore, Tandy Newton, I went, well, I see why. I've watched her chemistry with people in films. It's not great.
Yeah. I could talk about Mission Impossible, but I'm not. Because I freaking love that franchise.
I will say, I know we talked about the idea of like how we thought the story would end. I will be honest, the reveal of Archimedes' tomb is why I was so convinced he was getting left in the past. Because between
let's get into that.
Because when the minute she said, why are there propellers on the side of the tomb?
And why is there a watch?
Yeah, and why is there a watch?
Watch.
I immediately, as they were progressing in ancient time, I thought, oh my God, he stays behind and teaches Archimedes about all these things in the future. And so I was like, and it's not Archimedes in the tomb. I bet it's Indy because he had the bullet in his chest. And I thought they're going to put the watch on him. They're going to put him in his tomb. And it's actually not Archimedes. Like those propellers are meant to be like the man who came from the sky in the propeller plane. And then... And then they did the old okie doke on me. Honestly, I didn't even really know they were going back in the past. That shit blew my mind.
I thought the twist was going to be they were going to the future by accident.
First of all, the villain, excellent plan. That villain, when he said, I'm not going back to help Hitler win the war, baby. I'm going back to kill Hitler and be Hitler.
And become, I'm gonna do it right.
Yeah, seriously.
Thought, you know what? I'm judging, but... As somebody who is oftentimes, when asked in very professional settings if I could go back in time, what would I do? And I always say I'd shoot Christopher Columbus straight in the face the minute he stepped foot off the boat, so that everybody on the boat would go back to Spain and be like, don't go to America. There are witches and demons there that pop out of nowhere and shoot you in the face. I genuinely, when he revealed that plan, I went, you and I think alike, sir. I see what's in there.
It was a smart plan, like if you really think about it. And
it smart though? Like, do people not understand how time travel? This has happened already. Yes. There's no way that this happened and you're who you are.
He's never seen Back to the Future, so
All the Back to the Future. Or Marvel, or doesn't realize how the multiverse works.
Yeah, I guess media has really taught us all of these.
He has not seen The Flash. He does not understand that change does not bring you back to Ben
spaghetti.
Affleck. It brings
Nicole,
you
the
to
spaghetti.
He thinks he's so fucking smart. He like just put this shit together and he's like, yeah, I can do it to a specific time and fucking date like an asshole. And of course it doesn't. So they put the dial back together. He thinks he's going back to 1939. This guy opens, bam, it takes him back to when the dial was created.
Yes.
Right? Because that's the only thing it can do.
And don't even get started with Teddy over here with the non-existent flight simulator getting a plane off the ground into a storm. I said, you know what? Teddy has the audacity of a man who thinks I could land this plane if we ever got an emergency.
According to research, is a lot of men.
Most men genuinely are on a plane being like, I could land this. Meanwhile, I'm immediately asking the flight attendant, you tell me what you need from me. I'm not going to move till you tell me what you want.
And here's a spoiler alert, guys. You cannot. It turns out it is not. They cannot tell you what to do. Like, it's just like...
It's my favorite nonsense fact. Like, when people are like, why men? I'm like, fun fact. Most of them think they can land a commercial plane.
Yep. So they go back to 2,000 years ago, and of course the whole Nazi plan is ruined, and one of his henchmen, like an idiot, starts shooting at everything. There's like a war of Icarus, I believe, is happening.
Yes.
They're seeing, it's the siege of Syracuse. I'm sorry.
Syracuse.
Greek and Roman soldiers all together. And Archimedes everybody sees, the charter plane in the sky. And they're convinced it's a monster because they've never seen anything like that.
So here's the thing. My mother and I love to, so we're not full on conspiracy theorists, but we have a few that we like. And we are those people that absolutely 1000%. I know everybody shits on Crystal Skull, but we are totally those people that are like, oh, what if it was aliens? So when he said the dragons, I went, what if they're never really? What if this whole time there were planes from the future. And that's why we got dragons. Like, I'm one of those people that I just need a little push. And then I'm like, seems plausible. Seems plausible.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, of course, the plan fails. Everybody on the plane dies except for Indiana Jones, of course.
Yes.
And he's there and he's like amazed because he's 2,000 years in the fucking past, right?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't
We
be?
finally hit it. Like, Indiana Jones has seen, this is it. Like, this is the moment where he is now a believer of the supernatural. Because as we're as audience supposed to believe that he just has not believed up until now.
That was the part that got me.
Yeah.
I said, girl, you didn't believe any of this. Not even when you went through the portal. When you saw these ships with when these giant spears flew through your plane. It was not until your feet were on the ground and you were like, all right, I believe it.
Right? Talking to, which was so cool. So he's there and he's just amazed, and Archimedes and him are looking at each other like they're in love. And they're just like, hey, let's make this happen. Let's spend some time together and get to know each other. And Helena's like, no, not going to happen. And he's begging her, leave me. This is my life's work. I have spent my life doing all of this. I fit in here. Look at me. I'm bonding right now with Archimedes. Please. I'm dying, by the way. This is my request.
The amount of blood loss I was concerned with from the second he got shot to that.
Seriously.
I was like,
again, but proving the brilliance of Helena's character. She's just like, you're going to mess up history. I cannot let you do
that
this. Like,
was
she
wild
realized,
to me.
she knows.
Because I truly was like, girl, he's going to be dead before you finish this speech.
Seriously.
And so that's why I kept being like, it's him in the tomb. It's not even Archimedes.
No, he's not going to mess up history. Like you said, MacKenzie, that's what they were looking at. They saw the wristwatch. They saw the propellers. They knew that something was fucking up. Indiana Jones put the dots together, and he was like, literally, this is my life's fucking work. I've spent my life doing this. What a fucking honor to die here.
Yes.
And then she's like, no, and she fucking punches him and brings him back to his time. And I was so pissed. I was so pissed.
When she punched him, I thought, oh, funny Indiana Jones callback, but like they're going to then show her trying to drag him, and Archimedes is going to explain to her like, no, like we'll take care of him. You have to get back. Like, I thought that's where this was going. And then when she punched him and it faded to black and then he was in his bed, I was like, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
Right.
What just happened?
Yeah. What a terrible way to live.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm lost. We, however, haven't talked about the one little goop in there that really got me, which was his son's dead.
Oh,
yes.
Right. Yes. That was a big.
Right.
Shia LaBeouf is dead in this movie. Like, they. Yeah.
I thought Marion was going to die, but then they realized that if she died, then what would have happened to Mutt? So they had to kill Mutt because there's no way they're going to bring that back. That was a mistake. We don't want to see him, swinging from those fucking vines again with the monkeys. They killed him, and then that caused a rift between him and Marion, and that's why he's so curmudgeon. I mean, he's even more curmudgeon-y than he typically is because he's depressed.
Yeah.
So, But that added this, depth to him where he's just like, everyone I love is gone and I'm alone, and what do I do this for? Because he's been, banging so many chicks, banging some chicks that his father also banged. Didn't talk about that from Last Crusade.
No, we did not from Last Crusade. That
shared.
Gets me every time.
It's so uncomfortable.
It was lovely as they're chained to chairs back to back. I'm like,
what? He calls it 2 ships passing in the night. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
2 ships? In the night, sir? Like, he literally says that line. It's disgusting.
Listen,
anyway.
Girls up by 10. I was like, all right, girl, live your best life.
I mean, her, I don't blame, but them, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I was like, you guys are gross. You, ma'am, I got it. Sean Connery and Harrison Ford.
I get it.
Live your best life. I respect it.
But yeah, he's always been this fulfilled, dynamic love and social life person. He's alone for the first time, and he's realizing, that he doesn't have that. And so the movie ends in this note where it's like you said, MacKenzie, it's not just about your adventures and all this. It's about who you get to share your life with.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, snore. Because honestly, that's not why I watch these movies. I watch these movies for the adventures. So as an audience member, I was like, no, it would have been so fitting if Indiana Jones would have been died in the past. What a beautiful, iconic, what an ode to his fucking life and to his brain that they would have left him there.
Well, see, that's why I kept thinking there's no way that that's not the end of his story. Is that he's going to die here in the past. He's going to finally be a part of the history that he spent his whole life chasing. And now she's going to go back to the present, with the hat and the stuff, and we're going to leave the story in the cliffhanger that we got from Shia LaBeouf, which is like, now she's got the items of Indiana. Is she going to continue? And then we would wonder, whatever happened to Wombat? But instead, they bought him. And I think that's why it made me cry, because I thought I knew where we were going. And then for it to instead end with this like much sweeter, more tender moment than any of the films that I was like,
Yeah,
oh my God.
yeah.
I think that's what made me go, oh, the story's over, because they have ended it with him finally getting the one thing he could never get, which is like love.
But he got love. He got married to her in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
But
like, sometimes you lose love.
I thought that church was gonna blow up. I was like, ain't no way this man gets to live happily ever after.
I'm trying to think. Like,
okay.
I guess now this is just me, not because I also assumed that he was going to be left back in time, and that's where like I think the more obvious ending would have been.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that necessarily would have been the appropriate ending.
I didn't hate it.
I mean,
I'll be honest, I
whatever.
didn't hate it, and I think it caught me off guard because, like you said at the top, he is so notorious for when he's overplaying the characters that he's like, so kill him. And everybody's like, really?
Yeah.
That I think there was something that also caught me off guard, that I was like, oh my God, Harrison Ford really does love Dr. Jones. That he was like, don't kill him. Like, let him grow old and die of natural causes. And
Yeah,
I was just like,
no, for sure.
I don't know. Again, this shit really caught me off guard.
It did, yeah.
I was like, oh.
I mean, and we don't really see too much, love scenes between people of a certain age.
Yeah.
So, and it was just like, I mean, of course, my mind was like, wow, this is like Up,
Yes.
Again, we
it was
don't.
very up,
But again,
up coded.
just so tender, so sweet, so personable, and just so like you say, MacKenzie, not where you thought it was going to end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever. He should have died 2,000 years ago, but it's fine. It's fine.
Is there a possibility that his blood loss just caused him to hallucinate that ending?
No.
Oh, I mean,
No.
that's the thing. Then you
Because-
want to get real Chris Nolan Inception, where you're like, well, actually, he's been dead the whole time, and that fade
Yeah,
back was
exactly.
him dying in the past.
Or,
Yeah.
or even crazier with the time is it's actually a time loop, because
It is,
the
yeah.
dial was only meant to
Yes.
bring someone from the future to that moment.
That was making my
So-
head hurt when
So
it was
wasn't.
revealed that
That's all it could do. Yeah.
Yeah, when it was
Yeah.
revealed that it never takes you anywhere other than right back to him,
yeah.
I was like, this.
But the thing was that he wasn't finished with the dial.
No.
When we get to that point. So it was one of those things that because he learned something, he created something to make that something happen
That's
that he
true, yeah.
learned.
You
It
are
was
literally
loop.
saying the thought I had in the theater, which was, I was like, oh, the only reason, again, why I thought he was going to die there, because I was like, it's unfinished on his table.
Yeah.
They're holding the finished version. And then I was like, oh, that's what's going to happen, is Indy's going to explain to him how to make it. Again, that whole, I also was like, we got to
Missed.
stop Archimedes. He's the real villain of this film, because when it's always going to come back
I
to him.
love when Helena says, no, you can't stay. You're going to cause trouble. You're going to cause some time paradox. And by the way, he can't keep that. He has to make his own.
Yeah.
That to me
Right?
felt like every conversation I've ever had with my 81-year-old father, where it's like something absolutely insane and fantastical is happening, and then I'm like, did you drink water?
Yeah.
Where is your medicine? What time
Yeah.
are we and everybody's like, MacKenzie, we're at the March on Washington anniversary. And I'm like, shh, be quiet. You come here, make eye contact with me. Do
Yeah.
you know where you're supposed to be at noon? Like they're in the middle of the most life-altering event that she'll think about on her deathbed, and she's like, no, you cannot stay here. You're gonna cause trouble.
So wait, actually, I didn't ask this, and I want to ask it now as we get into the reception that this film has gotten, which is, how was your theater experiences?
Oh, yeah, we usually talk about that.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Me and Eddie, we went on a Friday night. It was mostly empty.
Wow, mine was packed. I went on a Friday, 7 p.m.
Really?
Completely packed. People applauded at the end.
I
No
love that.
one
So
applauded.
yeah, I don't care.
But my crowd
But-
was older. Like,
Okay.
it was
Oh,
not a young crowd. I could feel the energy. There was an older crowd. So,
I
Ours
went
was like
on
a
a-
9 p.m. showing.
okay.
See,
Yeah.
I was a Friday afternoon. I knew it would be fairly empty, and God help everybody in that Alamo Draft House, because I wanted to discuss the you know how at Alamo they play they'll play like a special thing. So they did like a summary of all the films.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
They did
cool.
it-
Yeah,
they
Alamo's
did it, like,
great.
Oh, it's amazing. And my poor waitress, she must have been like, I just want to take your order and go. Like, I don't want to hear about your love of Indiana Jones or how much you love our Cobb salad. And I'm just like, nobody wants to talk about it. Like, I was like that little kid on the airplane, like knees on my seat, talking to the people behind me because my whole row was empty, being like, so what brought you here today? And they're like, and the guy's like, I'm just trying to feel my girlfriend's boob. And you are following my conversation.
Did you go in a hat? I regret not bringing my hat that my dad left.
When I tell you, I have, again, for my pageant stuff, I bought a movie accurate hat. And the way before I left my house, both my parents on FaceTime said, before even seeing me, I had, like, all they could see was the room. And my mom just, and I walked out of frame and she goes, no hat. And I just came back in frame and went, well, you are a fun sucker. And my dad is like, and my dad just goes, when did you buy a khaki shirt? And I was like, shut up.
Overall, this film, it's getting a pretty mediocre reception. I mean, the box office was a little underwhelming.
I'm not surprised.
The critics are a little lukewarm. On Letterboxd, I'm seeing reviews like Indiana Jones and the Fine Movie, Indiana Jones and the Unnecessary Fifth Film. Like, but, if you think about it.
But the fan score is like 88.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes. Now, when people say things like, wow, this was so unnecessary, I mean, none of these movies were ever truly necessary.
Never.
So it's like, when did we ever need a justification to make it necessary for them to come out,
Yeah.
I think the only justification we need is that we know we have an aging actor. Closure.
Yeah.
You kind of want to see
what happened.
Yeah. Like not just what happens, but like also you want to see them like kind of letting go of the role too. Similar to Picard. I think we talked about this last week when we did the Flash.
But again, that's what made me emotional is that I was like, we're giving him his flowers in real time. Like we're saying thank you. And I think again, I was like, oh, Dr. Jones is gonna grow. Like I think something about that I was like, again, probably because my dad's around that age, I was losing my mind in that theater because I was just like, this is the story that like men of this generation and of this time deserve, is like to grow old in a way that is like dignified and
exactly.
And I think again, when people were like, it's fine. So many people when I went to the film, they were like, how was it? And I go, it's an Indiana Jones film. If you don't want to see an Indiana Jones, don't go see this. And they were like, but how's the plot? I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I have never gone to these movies for the plot and been like, I was like, no, I leave out of them saying crazy shit and like, thinking it makes sense.
I think this movie is more than fun. I thought it was actually fun.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
And I will say Harrison Ford, I think he was wonderful, but if anything, it was really carried by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think she was just so...
She's so clever. Something about her.
Yeah. I mean, she was just charismatic on camera. She
to me was John Boyega in the Star Wars film, where yes, the person is acting, but you can also see in their eyes that they are fully aware that they are looking at Mark Hamill and that they are looking at Harrison Ford, that somewhere in the room is George Lucas. Like, it's that thing where you can see on their face that they're like, yes, I'm here and I'm in character, but also, can you believe this shit?
Yeah.
You know what I also appreciate about her character was they didn't hypersexualize her at any point.
No, actually, not at all. If anything, she was most of the time the smartest person in the room.
Yes. But it carried a sexiness with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There was a brief moment when they introduced her that I thought like, okay, so this is where we're going. And then around the time that the fiance showed up, I thought that hot man is with that lady. And then by the time they had like climbed the side of the wall, I was like, I get it. I see why you were willing to wreck your Rolls Royce over her. Okay.
No, I mean, overall, I'm glad we're all kind of in agreement here because, like, I didn't hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I'm glad that wasn't the ending to Indiana Jones.
I don't hate Crystal Skull either. I am one of those people that every so often when, like, Asian Aliens comes on the History Channel, I think, like, what? It could be Stonehenge, could be aliens. That I was like, I like where this is going.
Yeah. And I feel like the franchise. I'm so sorry, Rolando. I feel like the franchise is just so consistently good. And like for people to complain about the quality, maybe in comparison to some of the other things they liked about the other films, it's like there's no other franchise quite like this one. There's a lot of imitators, a lot, and none of them are as consistently as fucking fun and as good as this franchise is, and I just respect the shit out of it. So I was very pleased.
Vin Diesel could never. This is honestly what he has been trying to capture with those Fast and Furious movies, where people just come out and are like, I love these. I want to be these people. And I'm like...
Yeah. But that's the thing, too. Like,
I think more so, actually, Dwayne The Rock Johnson could never.
Yeah, oh, God.
He's trying really hard with Jumanjis.
He's trying so hard. And it's like...
They do so many imitations, like Lara Croft Tomb Raider, you know, Uncharted. Yeah. Like, people try. And they never quite get what Indiana Jones is able to master, truly. So...
Yes.
What were you going to say, Rolando, when I cut you off?
My one critique here of this film, I did like it. I had fun. It was a fun ride. But I will say this, like, especially watching the first two recently for the podcast, the filmmaking, though, is just like, the filmmaking for those first two movies in terms of practical effects and like seeing like the camera work is still spectacular. It does. You do see the difference. Like the over reliance on CGI is still something that just hurts these newer movies. I understand it's just what we come to expect.
Again,
but God,
this is why we're obsessed with Tom Cruise, because this is a man that
that
everybody goes, you know, we could CGI that, and he goes, that's funny. What does CGI stand for? Cruise going in? Like, let's do it.
Yeah. Actually, my one qualm is that it was a little long. Most of these films clock in at 2 hours. This was almost 2.5 hours. It's just a little long.
Say goodbye, Nicole.
I wanted more.
This is still a little long.
I actually how long movies are now, and I sat through whatever that was for The Flash. This seemed like a quick little jaunty stroll for me.
True. Yeah. No.
Actually.
Yeah, all movies have to be long.
MacKenzie, real quick, what were your thoughts on The Flash? We covered that last week.
I have a lot of feelings. I will only say the good feelings, which was I loved seeing Christopher Reeves. That caught me off guard. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I miss you so much. I screamed when George Clooney appeared, and then I had a whisper fight with my mom because she kept saying Michael Keaton was her Batman, and I said, you're too old. Your Batman was Adam West. And then she got really mad. And overall, I was like, wow, these movies could have been great if not for the dumpster fire that started with this man kidnapping somebody. And then I just thought, and then my other thought was, where's Jonathan Majors right now? What's he doing? How's he feeling today as this movie goes out? So I was having a time in that theater. I had a good time, but I also had a confusing time that I wanted to be released from.
I think that's
and a lot of spaghetti, and I understood none of it. I really was like, "This is a lot of spaghetti. This is confusing. This is very confusing."
What was with all that spaghetti, though?
I also want to just say, side note, I thought it was really funny that Michael Keaton's Batman was the only Batman that wasn't needed in Gotham, because I was like, yeah, Michael Keaton's Batman used to kill people. He didn't put them in Arkham Asylum. He would shoot them, murder them.
That's true.
So that's why in his universe, he's just a retired old man living in Wayne Manor.
Yeah.
Gotham is safe.
Yeah.
By the way,
actually, that does tie back to this one thing that I kind of do enjoy about these movies, seeing like these last chapters for these men. I do love this idea of like the hero that just, you always go back to adventure.
Yeah.
Adventure will always call, and you will always
you'll always answer.
As much as you want to like put it behind you, you just do. Which is why I'm so holding out hope for the inevitable Speed revival,
don't say
where
that.
we have like Keanu Reeves and hopefully Sandra Bullock coming back for another bus.
And
explosion.
you know Keanu would say yes. And you know Sandra Bullock would be like, I'm bored, let's do it.
I just need someone just write a good script, you know.
That made me think about when I was home. My mom goes, let's watch John Wick, and she just starts the most recent one and then goes, I think I need to see the other ones before I just go here. I was like,
yeah, you do.
And you know what's funny is she said, oh, I thought this was Indiana Jones style, where I could just drop in on any movie and know what's happening. And then I was like, we're going to go see that next week. And she was like, what?
That's actually so funny. I didn't even think about that. But for the most part, you don't have to watch Indiana Jones in any order. Because
no, you don't.
And that actually... I would argue that's actually a good thing.
That's actually like one of the best parts about it is you don't have to know anything. To be honest, I think that's kind of what makes these like retcon moments a little difficult, is because you are in a theater, because the guy that bought his girlfriend that was behind me, she was like asking what she needed to know, and he kept saying, well, you don't need to know anything. You could just watch it. And then when, obviously, Marion, like when it was revealed the bills and stuff, she kept going, should I know who these people are? And he was like, no, just watch it. It doesn't matter. It's not important to you.
He's stuck to that. He's stuck to
Yes.
that. That's great. Well, MacKenzie, always a fucking pleasure. I'm so glad you're such an Indiana Jones stan. You're part of that fan club.
I'm a nutty psycho stan, and Harrison Ford, if you and Callista never work, if there's something happens, I'm here. I can happily be the Raquel to you all's Tom and Ariana any day. Let me know.
I just love that you talked about the Disney stunt show. When you're by Disneyland, you go on that fun-ass ride.
Yes. I get
that
on
ride
there.
is so much fun.
That ride is amazing.
Where's the ride?
There is an Indiana Jones ride when I was younger. I will not tell the full story on air of why this is seared in my brain because it's so much TMI. But that ride is one of my favorite. It scared the Jesus out of my dad. We were on it during the first week it had opened. And that's also why I'm going to Disney for the 4th of July, because there is an actor walking around dressed like Indiana Jones. And
fun. Yeah.
And for his own safety, he's not doing meet and greets. He's on a tower above Jungle Cruise, so I cannot get to him and touch his face.
So you know that ride Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom, Rolando?
Yes.
It's pretty much the same ride, but with Indiana Jones going back in time and stuff. And funny enough, Disneyland Paris has a different Indiana Jones roller coaster.
Yes,
so it's
they
like
do.
everywhere is just something different for Indiana Jones.
My poor family has been on that Indiana Jones roller coaster. They were forced to leave Paris one early morning so I could go to Disney, and they are still mad about it.
Hollywood Studios in Orlando needs to step it up because they only have the
just a stunt show, which is fun, but I mean,
it's getting a little.
We need more.
It's fine. The rest of the park kind of makes up for that, but still. So.
I think they need more rides in that park, but
Bob,
we're just not happy.
3 hours waiting for the
Bob, if you're
Star Wars
listening to
one.
this show, give us another Indiana Jones ride.
Seriously.
Also, give me a job if you're also listening to the show.
Make me an Imagineer, please. Thanks.
Please make me the CMO in training. That's all I want, Bob. Glad you're enjoying the show.
Seriously. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Maybe we shall see you for Barbie. You let us know if you want to come on.
I mean, you know I love to force myself on this show.
There's no forcing.
So we will contact you for that. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. You guys are the best. And, I love talking about this nerdy shit with you guys all the time.